Hi. In today's session, we will talk about Amazon keyword indexing and product ranking. My guest today will be Stephen Pope from My Amazon Guy, and he will share some very important insights how you could overcome some of the issues you might have with your products being searchable and visible for the customers in the search results. So let's welcome Stephen here. Hi, how
Whoa,
are
thanks
you
for having
doing?
me on.
Hi, Stephen. Hope you're doing great. We're very excited to have you here today. And actually, one of the reasons why you are joining us for today's webinar is that in about 2 months, you will be joining us as a speaker in European Seller Conference, which is a do-take conference that takes place in Prague. Are you excited
I've
to?
never been to Prague and I've never been to most of Europe. So I am so excited. And if you guys are in the area and you haven't bought your tickets yet, please come see me, come shake my hand. It's a different experience when you can meet face to face. So I'm so excited to join that event and be there with you guys.
And it will be the first conference you will be taking part in Europe, right?
It will be. It's the first time I'm doing a conference in Europe. Yes.
Okay, sounds really cool. And I think there might be some people who are not so familiar with you. So, for the record, could you also introduce yourself and also let us know what's your background in Amazon space and what are you usually up to?
You bet. So I don't think people actually care who I am. They just care what I say. So in general, I'm a founder of an Amazon agency that we grow brands. We have over 300 brands that hire us for full service. That's managing PPC and SEO, anything that generates traffic, as well as conversion improvements in the form of design and catalog merchandising and troubleshooting. So some of the things we're going to talk about today, troubleshooting challenges, SEO, and anything that's going to help you generate traffic or conversion today. And I'm excited to be here. We've got over 300 employees at MAG, and we are constantly sharing content and education and ideas because we know that it's really hard to sell on Amazon. It's a great opportunity, but it isn't passive income. And so I'm here to really cut through the drift of it because a lot of Amazon sellers at home who are watching this, working at their business, they know there's a lot of things that they can do, but they really need help knowing what to do. And that's where I'll come in today and help out where I can. And by
Okay.
the way, guys, I love doing live things. So if anybody wants to share one of their links or a problem they have, please ask me anything. It's one of my favorite formats to do.
That's awesome. So yeah, coming back to the event, to the conference, if you want to meet Stephen in person in Europe, then check the links in the description of the video. And as Stephen already mentioned, we will not do like a regular presentation today. It will be a live demo. And at any time when you like what Stephen is sharing with you or you learn something new, don't forget to like the video and also subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not yet our subscriber. So as you said today, we expect or would like to have some ASINs from the viewers who are watching us, so you could actually go into their product pages and basically give comments live to them, whether they have some issues or questions for you. So we will give them a little bit of time to do that. So first, I think just for the warm up, I would like to ask you one question.
Please.
What do you think? Have you noticed any change lately in how different product listing elements influence product ranking? Like, has there been anything, how reviews influence the product ranking versus, let's say, the sales or something else?
There has been massive changes, and I think a lot of people are noticing it. So I like to, show and tell a little bit. So I'm going to pull this up on screen if you can pull it up. I made a pretty controversial post on LinkedIn talking about how it kind of feels like we have an A10 algorithm update. And by all technicalities, Amazon has not released that information at all. But I like to do patch notes every so often. And here's really what I'm seeing right now. So I'll make this as big as I can so you guys can see that. But there are certain factors that affect SEO and your listings. And so as things keep changing, it's hard to keep up with all of this stuff. And there are really three elements that I'm seeing massive changes on right now. And so these graphs really reflect the big changes that I've personally seen. Reviews are not as important as they used to be. I'm seeing a lot of less impact on having lots of reviews. As proof to this, you can load and launch a brand new product and rank and outrank listings with 10,000 reviews in the first week. A lot of honeymoon theory we can talk about, and holding power and stuff like that. But by and large, I've really seen that be nerfed or taken down a notch. Another thing that I've seen nerfed is that 180-day sales mark. Very similar to how new products are really dominating search more than they ever have before. The impact of just simply having past sales is not as impactful. What I have seen, though, on the front side of things, where we're seeing a massive impact, is on click-through rate. And I cannot tell you how important that this has been. Massive changes to this. And I'm going to give you guys a quick flavor of that, of what you're going to be able to do and see. But if you just take an image like this, and by the way, you guys can see this at myamazonguy.com/hack. We'll post a link to that in the comments. You can see the impact of changing an image and what it does for CTR and all of the traffic implications that can make. So, for example, if we zoom in on this image, on the left, you can see the before, and on the right, you can see the after. If I were to ask and poll the audience on the before side and say, hey, why would you buy this product? The most common answer I typically get is, it's yellow. But if I ask, cool, why would you buy the second product on the right? Most commonly, I get 3 answers. It's a journal for kids. It's for kids between ages 6 and 12. And it's not just a journal with white pages in the middle of it. You can actually look inside of it and see it. And so when we talk about listings, you really need to have a big edge right now. And for this particular brand, who gave me permission to share this, they did not update their physical packaging. And so we graphically altered this to start. And I said basically to him, if this doesn't work, we can always update the graphic back. But it did work. It tripled his sales. And so now he's working with the manufacturer to update the packaging a little bit more to emphasize the element. So that white band there will look more like this. And having the starburst with the 6 age to 12, when a consumer now goes over to Amazon and searches for something like this, they can quickly ascertain what they're looking at and what they're doing. So one of the things that we planned on talking about today was listing troubleshooting. And so a lot of people, when we had this conversation over on LinkedIn, we have over 300 likes and 51 comments and 38 reposts, a lot of social engagement here. If you read the comments, you're going to hear a lot of people saying, this is against terms of services. This is bad. And I can't believe you're talking about this. Well, the reason why I'm very brave on this subject is because I believe that Amazon likes to do whatever's in the best interest of the customer. And so as you guys engage with me here and as you think about this, so if we go back over to this clip here, you can see that there is a massive benefit to the customer in image 2. It helps the customer know what the product is and who it's for. And so as we talk about this, I'm very confident that Amazon is cool with this. And no matter what the TNC officially says, yes, you can't put Starburst on your main image. But if it's part of the product delivery, if it's part of the packaging, or it looks like it's part of the packaging, I think you can breeze through that. However, for those that have an issue and you're wondering, like, how do I know if I'm compliant? What's going to happen? I have some tips I'll share on this. And then following this, I would love to read your comments and start engaging with you guys directly. So feel free to start asking your questions. We're going to dive into that here in the next 3 to 5 minutes. So if you want to know, is my listing suppressed? Go on over to Amazon.com and simply type in any ASIN. Hit enter. And if the product shows up like this, you know for 100% certainty that the product is not suppressed. This is the first troubleshooting technique that we'll share today. This is the fastest way to know if your listing is doing okay. Does it index? Can I find it? If the product shows up like this, it's indexing. That's the good news. The other thing you want to look at is the BSR. So you see right here, we're number 27,000 in all of beauty. That's actually pretty good, by the way. So it's a very good selling unit. This is one of my own products, by the way. For Age of Sage, I make a brand for every one of my kids. I've got 4 kids, 7 and under. Sage is my turning 4-year-old girl. And so this particular brand has Age of Sage as the name, and it's got 900 reviews. We've been doing this for about a year on this particular brand with these soaps, and it's been really great. So it's got a good BSR at 27,000. If you see your BSR disappear, that is bad, and you need to fix it. This sometimes happens when Amazon accidentally deletes your category or switches your category, but for whatever reason, the BSR disappears. So the fastest way to figure out if your BSR is set is simply use a Chrome extension or go in the back end of Amazon. So if I show you, we're going to go into my actual account right now. I'm going to look up the ASIN. We're going to go to the inventory page. I'm going to search it. And there is a way on the preferences of the columns. If you click that, you can have the business rank show up. It's called sales rank right here. Check that box. And I did that a little fast. For those that missed it, you just simply click on the preference column on the top right when you're on the inventory page. So in here, you can see the sales rank column shows up. Everything's hunky-dory. There is not currently any technology or software tool that I'm aware of that will quickly identify if you're missing a BSR. So one of the fastest ways you can do this yourself manually is to go into your inventory page, enable this column, and see it in real time, and then go through and basically address anything that's blank. When you hit edit on the product, and you go into it, you can then go over to some of the vital information and keywords and see what's going on with it, right? To see if everything's filled in correctly. So if we go over to the vital info section, and you can see right here, item type keyword. This is the category. You can put your cursor on the tooltip and get a bunch of information that doesn't really help you and that tells you to refer to the BTG and then doesn't define it. This is what I like to call Amazon's classic useless tooltips, because nobody actually knows what BTG stands for, including me. Browse tree guide, actually, now that I think of it. Nonetheless, in here, if you see this blank, 9 out of 10 chance your BSR will be blank. If your BSR is blank, you are missing out on keyword ranking, and that's a bad thing. So you want to hit edit and fill this in. Sometimes you can't manually fill this in, and you're going to need to do it by template upload. For those of you who are not familiar with template uploads, you're in for a world of pain and suffering, Excel files, and more, but you got to do it. The next tip I'm going to give you is how to back up a catalog. I have a full guide on this at myamazonguy.com/catalog. And I'm just going to briefly show you this because it's really important to know how to do this. But essentially, if you go to the inventory reports and you select the category listings report, acronym CLR, you can download a backup of this. And if you haven't backed up your catalog ever, or it's been a couple of months, I recommend you do that right now on your side browser. Go back up your CLR report. And the reason you want to do this is because if your variation item type keyword is blank, you can see it on the template and then quickly fill it in and do a template upload. This is the easiest and fastest way to learn how to do templates. You can simply download a report, make one minor change, and simply reload it. Full guide on that, myamazonguy.com/catalog. We have pictures, step-by-step tutorials. You guys can check it out. I also have a dedicated video. So I know a lot of people didn't show up just to see me present and talk fluff. We want to engage the people. So let's talk to some of them. What comments do you do?
Yeah, that's a good idea. And thank you for this detailed introduction. It definitely gets people thinking about their own products. And we already received the first ASIN to analyze, but also one question. So let's take the question first. And it's basically related to the product category. So somebody watching us is having an issue updating the category to my listing. Do you have any tips or hacks we could use? We have tried many things and also opened many cases with Amazon Seller Support, but no help there either. And I would only also add a question about how important product category actually is for product ranking.
I don't believe it matters which category you're in unless it's in a terrible category, not just the subcategory, but the full category. For example, I was talking to a coaching customer the other day. They had their product in industrial and in scientific. Honestly, I would never want any product ever to be in the industrial and scientific category. Why? Because they don't have any of the great optimized content that you would see in literally almost every other category. They structurally look terrible and they don't show up to consumers unless they pick the drop down for industrial and scientific. So it's basically the kiss of death for SEO and indexing. So I would avoid that one. However, if you're talking about being in the chef knife category or in the paring knife category, I don't care if you have a chef knife that's in the paring category or vice versa. It will have almost zero impact on sales. Subcategory, not critical to have correct. Main category, massively important. Now, to answer the root of your question, how do you get it to change? How do you get it to update with Amazon? You could do a template upload. Back up your catalog first, by the way, just like we talked about with our catalog hack. But the next thing you need to do is file a brand registry ticket. Very common to get auto rejection on category changes. So what do? Amazon is a culture of escalation. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep replying to that ticket and basically saying, this is not working. This is in the wrong category. It's a bad customer experience. That's a keyword or a key phrase you need to have on your tickets. This is a bad customer experience. Please fix it. Here is the proof. Some things you can do on the escalation of those brand registry tickets include writing about showing them a picture of the product. So literally grab your cell phone out like this, take a picture of your item. So let's say you're selling the This Is the Way beer glass. This is a product I sell. Then what you would do is you would take a picture and show it, including its packaging, and make sure that there is nothing, make sure that the product is inside of the image. So if you take the picture and it's halfway off the image like that, or even partially touching, not good. You want to have that so they can see every angle and part of the product. By doing that, you're giving the seller representative proof that they need to make the change. Now, it might be weird to you, like, why would a product picture help me get a category change? Forget the logic part of this. This is basically a procedural element where you're trying to convince the seller rep that you've given them enough reason and justification to make the change. And one of those reasons happens to be cell phone pictures of your item, real pictures, not the graphically altered ones, not the improved ones, but real photography from a cell phone. So that's a good way to do it. Another thing to do is give them a manufacturer link where you're showcasing, I am the manufacturer. Here is my manufacturer link. I own this product. I, of course, would know best where this product should be. It shouldn't be an industrial and scientific. It's a home and kitchen item. Please move it over. So those are the best tips I'll give you. We do have dedicated content we could link that gives you an actual video tutorial on how to change your category. Happy to link those over as well.
Good, very good. So let me just close this question. And as I said, we have the first ASIN for you to analyze live. So if you could go over to the private chat and Stephen, open up the product page, we just linked you there. You can take the first one.
Perfect. I've got it up. So we'll go ahead and present away. So I don't know if I'm still sharing my screen. I'll plop it up here. Window. Here we go. So we got a shoe we're going to be looking at.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right. So first thing I notice is, wow, there's a lot of reviews, a lot of good things going on with the Tommaso shoe. That's fantastic. One of the biggest, most frustrating things is the consumer is going to have to select a size. Unfortunately, in this category, there's no way to automatically select the default. And I think that's because Amazon did a bunch of research that says that if they default one of the sizes, they end up getting like horrendous returns. So consumers are going to have to do that before we see the add to cart button work. That's pretty normal, nothing unusual here. All right, so what we're looking for here, and depending on what they asked in the chat, we can do an ASIN takedown where we kind of go step by step and say what it approve and change. We could also look for problems and say, things you need to focus on. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to run you through that test. Is the ASIN suppressed? It is not. It shows up just like this. That's great. We also see BSR is present. Fantastic. We also have the Prime badge and everything's looking good. So probably nothing troubleshooting that needs to be looked at. Now, if they did want something troubleshot, please point that out so I can take a look at it. But in here, what's really great is some of the images that have been set up here. And by the way, we're seeing that Amazon is testing showing the images vertically like this. This is very rare. Most people will not be seeing the listing look like that. They'll see a very different element. But do you see how when I click on it, it's actually like scrolling it? This is brand new A/B testing coming out of Amazon.
Stephen, one thing Michael pointed out, who gave this ASIN to us, he actually had one question regarding to the main image, as we are now focusing on the images. And what he was saying was that when he tries to make like attention grabbing main image and also to add the main keyword to the main image, then actually they don't get Amazon to approve the new version of the main image. So do you have any tips how they could actually make it work with Amazon as well?
Absolutely. Show some packaging. So you got a shoebox that comes with every pair of shoes. On the shoebox, literally put the most important keyword just like this. And here you can see Sage for cleansing house. And you'll have the ability to understand what the product is. There is a very massive emotional impact, psychological impact when the consumer sees. So, for example, if I was going to search the term Sage for cleansing house like this, and what we're looking at is all of the things that can show up. So here is my product right there showing up at the top of the search engine results. Now, if I typed in Sage for cleansing house and I look at the top there and I'm seeing some random brand that's not Sage, they're irrelevant. I start scrolling down, then my eye automatically just connects with this Sage for cleansing house. I'm going to be way more likely, like 3 times more likely to click on this, which is why this is so important. And you'll see that they put Sage Kit right on their packaging, smudging guides, slap dab right there. That's not even part of their packaging. It's just on a brochure, and it does very well for people. So here's my product again, same exact product showing up multiple times in the search results. Here's my product a third time showing up in the product results. And I do believe I might even show up a fourth time way low on the page. My video might even show up. All right, just 3 times for today. But nonetheless, who wouldn't want to show up 3 times for a single keyword? That's multiple ads for the same keyword. And the reason that this is happening is because when I added this keyword, I became way more relevant. Amazon showed my product more often. They showed my ads more importantly, more often, got more impressions. And they also ranked me better, showing me to more consumers. So when you do those things, it's really important. So if I was going to do this for the shoes, I would have a shoebox in the corner with the keyword slap dab right on top of it.
So, in your experience, because Michael is saying that he actually has been trying it out, probably he has followed you before as well. In your experience, have you had any situations where you're not able to get that kind of main image approved, or have you always figured it somehow out and you have been able to add that keyword to the product listing?
We always get it approved. Now, it doesn't go through immediately the first time in all instances. I'll give you an example where we had some trouble with this. So I had a Valentine's Day rose product with the Forever Rose. And this particular box, those letters right there, Amazon had a problem with it. Even though it looks like it's straight on the packaging and the box, we had multiple submissions had to go through, and we had suppressions occur. This was a worst case scenario, but as you can see, I have it live right here. I typed in the ASIN, it's showing up, it's not suppressed, and we were able to overcome that. So it's very doable. You just have to keep trying and finagle it in there on occasion. I am noticing here that Amazon is selling my own product right here. It looks like it's out of the warehouse. So nothing to be alarmed about. But sometimes when you see other people start selling your product, you freak out and you're like, oh, I got a hijacker. Or in this case, Amazon just damaged a bunch of my product and is selling it at a discount. So nothing to worry about.
Okay, yeah, the seller is just figuring out maybe it's the cycling shoe category that product is currently in, so that they don't get approval. And he says that they have been trying for 3 months already. So yeah, probably
So
needs to try.
if we scroll through cycling shoes, not a single product has been able to get a keyword in their main image. And it could be that the person in charge of that category has locked this thing super down. So it may not be possible in this category. That is entirely possible.
All right.
Yeah, I don't see a single one of them.
So when we would now move forward from the images of that product page, what else do you notice, or what else would you check next?
All right. So main image, most important. If you spent 10 hours this week on your main image, that is plenty, a good investment rather. And it's going to be a good payout. Next thing I'll look at is parentage. What we want to do is make sure nothing is out of stock or gray. It's actually in the clear right here. So if you start stocking out of certain variations, that can be a challenge to conversion and confuse people. And so that's important. Sometimes attributes like this, where we got the man-made soul shows up at the top, pretty minor. I don't think this really impacts anything, but it kind of makes some brands a little uncomfortable because they want the bullets to show up, not just this random phrase. Pretty minor. You'll notice that I'm not going to spend any time critiquing the bullets. And the reason for that is because I believe bullets are for robots. Text is for robots, except the text inside of the main image, and images are for humans. So if we go through the secondary images, fantastic job of having some of these graphics made, but there is a pretty big call out for this particular shot. We don't see the woman's eyes. And statistically speaking, we know that conversion rate will go up considerably if we can see the eyes of a person using the product. So this is a really great shot to show the product in use. It's very aspirational. It kind of shows the lifestyle. But what it fails to do is give me that connection. So this is a shot that shows but doesn't make me feel. And the best way to get connection is to make eye contact. So if I was going to reframe this shot, I might have her look over her shoulder so she's looking at the camera, or I might choose a different angle altogether to make that happen. As we keep going down the list, we've got some social proof. Those are pretty solid and pretty good. Pretty boring size chart. Hard to make that any better. Customizable, interchangeable. That showcases what else you can do. Probably the one thing that's really missing is more lifestyle shots. I think there's too much science and not enough feeling behind most of these images as a thematic issue to address. As we scroll down, we've got a brand story that's present. Here is our first thematic image outside of that one image with the woman on exercising inside. But I like this image even better. And the best thing to do to improve this brand story would be to have a click-through. So there are so many things you can do inside of a brand story. And to demonstrate this, we're going to go to one of my listings right here. So not only am I emphasizing Mother's Day coming up here in May, which is one of my biggest parts of the year, but you'll notice that I can click on any one of these products, click on that, shows one of my products. I can scroll to the right. I can click on the store. Every one of these images, if you inspect them, has alt text. There's so much keyword juice you can slam inside of the brand story and the rest of A+ content. So I have other keywords that we've popped in there, and I can keep going to the right. Look how many times I can go to the right. So by the way, there's a maximum of 17 modules or 96 images you can load to the brand story. Right now, when we look at this, we have one. So that's 95 more photos you could load to your brand story. That is 95 products you could link to from your brand story. And even if you just put in another 4 or 8 or 12, you'd be a long improvement in the making. Keep in mind, if you times 96 times 100, how many characters of SEO juice you could stuff in there behind the scenes. And yes, it does improve indexing.
Yeah,
and if anybody doesn't believe me, put in Spanish right now in one of your alt texts, and I guarantee you will index in under 48 hours.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions about A+ content. I know you have been talking about it quite a lot. So the question is, where exactly sellers should enter those keywords for A+ content? Is it the image keywords? Is it somewhere else? What's the best placement?
So behind the image is the easiest and fastest because you don't even need a designer. You can just slam it in there. This is not as effective, though, as is crawlable text. So if we look down at the text down here, all of this text has more SEO impact than the alt text. If we
so
were
basically,
to rank,
so basically, it would be important to use those modules where you actually add the text like in the module, not on the image, right?
it's more important to have text outside of the image and have it crawlable. So you can see how here I can highlight it. That's how you know if it's done correctly. The text inside of the image right here does not help SEO. Now, we may see AI improvements in the next year or two, and all bets are off. That could change. But right now, only the text behind the image and the text outside of the image, not the text in the image, is going to help SEO juice today. So the other thing that we'll notice is while the A+ content on this listing looks good, there is no crawlable text of any kind, except technically this section down here. So some people are like, I don't want to have crawlable text. It's bad for conversion. It's going to hurt me on mobile. I won't look as good. And quite frankly, you're right. It won't look as good. But guess what? Conversion is already solved for on Amazon. Your conversion rate's between 8 and 12%, and you just have to fart and show up, right? But if you add that crawlable text in, you're not going to lose very much conversion. You might lose 1/10 of a percentage point. But what you will gain is doubling or tripling on indexing, which leads to 20 to 50% more clicks, which leads to 5 to 10% more in sales. Which would you rather have? A quarter percentage point of conversion, or do you want to focus on tripling your traffic, which leads to 30% on your top line sales? It's a no-brainer. You got to focus on traffic over conversion elements, especially when it comes to SEO over design. But having said all that, the next thing you need to do is convert from regular A+ content over to premium A+ content. See the size difference of these images? It makes a massive difference. How much space can I take up? And why would I want to take space? It's e-commerce. I want them to go straight to the checkout funnel. Well, what happens when you scroll down here? You see some competitor products. And these competitor products are rabbit holes where somebody else is going to go click something else. So if you don't take this space, Amazon will. Amazon will take up the space, and then you're going to lose sales. So you got to take up as much space as possible, because if you were to count how many rabbit holes, how many ads for other people's products, there's 21 ads right there. There's 58 ads right there. If we started counting all of these, it's going to be well over 150 ads of competing products on my own product page. That's a problem. And you don't want that. So the best thing you can do to cope with it, take as much space as you possibly can on your side.
That's good insight. So before we continue with the next question, so if anybody else wants their product to be analyzed live, then leave your ASIN to the comments. And I also wanted to say that if you have been enjoying this webinar so far and you like what Stephen is sharing with you, then definitely don't forget to like the video as well. So there are different elements on the product detail page. And now you just explained the product story part and also the A+ part. But have you tested, is it helpful for ranking if sellers use product keywords when they answer customer questions in the Q&A section?
Yes. Other Amazon SEO experts will back me up on this, including Brandon Young. If you answer a question, and even if you plant the question yourself and then answer it to get the keywords in there, if you're selling a product with a banned phrase that you can't put in the product page, you can slam it in the Q&A, especially if the customer is the one that puts it in. And then you're just simply answering and saying, yes, it has that substance, or yes, it does do the thing that you want it to do. Or yes, this has CBD in it, even though it's banned on Amazon and I'm not supposed to sell CBD. So there's lots of ways you can get around that. Ethical constraints aside, that's how you would do it. But in terms of SEO indexing and impact, we have seen a direct correlation. If it's in the Q&A, it can index the product. It's going to be very subtle. It's going to be the smallest SEO ranking you could possibly imagine, but it does effectively work.
Okay, good. So let's take one question from Tony, because we have now a couple of questions also submitted by the viewers. So Tony is asking, how would you launch an old listing that has been out of stock for a long time? And let's say this product has about hundreds of reviews and total of 4.6 star rating.
I would spend as much on advertising as I possibly can. The more money you generate off of a sale, the better. So if you slam a cost of 100%, 150%, lower your price down as much as you could possibly bear, sell it at a loss for 10 to 14 days, and basically create your own honeymoon period. I have done this successfully. Let's see if I can even demo it for you. I had a Mr. and Mrs. product. I'm going to go over to my store and see if I can track this down. So let's see if I have a for him and her section. No, yes, right here. Here we go. So one of these products, it was this one. So this product, I had 500 at FBA and I was moving 10 a month. And quite frankly, I lazily stopped paying attention to this product. And then all of a sudden I was overstocked, and then I got an alert. I'm about to pay storage fees. And I'm like, well, frick. So what I did is I went ahead and lowered the price as much as I could. I think it went down to $9.99 or $15, somewhere in there. And then I was able to move all 500 units within a very short time period. Now, That's the good news. You can restart an old product with hundreds of reviews. Here is the bad news. I forgot to raise the price back up and I sold out again. And so you have to monitor this. You can't just simply run away with it or you're going to have a problem. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a graph. Let's see if we can get it to populate. Sometimes the Chrome extension I'm using doesn't populate it here. But there's lots of tools that can do this. You don't have to use the particular tool I'm going to pop up here. And it's also still not populating. I already logged in. Come on, help me out. Let's go, Helium 10. So in here, you can see the BSR ranking over time. And you can see like when I lowered the price, the BSR impact that it made. And then you could see here, we finally got it to load. All right, so we're going to click on the 1 year. So last June, I was at rank 385,000. Okay. I lowered the price from 27 down to $15. My BSR immediately spiked and improved. Got all the way up into the top 10,000. And then, oops, holy crap, I forgot about this product. Let me raise the price back. And then guess what happened? I maintained a majority of the BSR gains. So you can see here for months after, I was still in the top 30,000. I've lost some ground since. I probably need to do another price reduction and do a big promo run. But by and large, 500 units sitting, doing nothing, 5, 10 units a month, converted into selling 500 units in 30 days. So by having a price reduction, that is the easiest, fastest, best control mechanism you can do. I even have the Amazon's Choice for wine glasses on this product.
Okay, so one of the first things you mentioned was starting to aggressively advertising it. Actually, Keith, before you say that, already submitted a question. So he's kind of in a similar position. So the product went out of stock, but now coming back in stock, advertising was banned for this product. So what options he would have to re-rank the product again?
So lower the price as much as possible, spend as much on ads, and just generate orders. You don't need to give away product. You do need to get orders. So getting physical orders through the system at a lower rate improves the conversion. It will spike. So I just showed you the data that proves this, and you don't have to do it for very long. I accidentally did it for 30 days. You could do it for 14 or 10 days. You will see massive gains from this. So I highly recommend that's how you get a product back in stock. Lots of ads, lower the price, then raise it back.
All right. So you mentioned switching from regular A+ content to the premium one, and we know there are some requirements for sellers to do so. So a viewer is asking that they have been waiting for Amazon to approve the premium, but they keep dragging their feet even though we meet the requirements. And he's asking, do you have any tips how to get approved for it?
It may be category dependent and it may not be possible. That's the truth. But if you keep filing it and asking them to accept it, or if you could show the shoebox, those are the ways that I would try and do that. Show the packaging whenever possible. But at the end of the day, it might just be impossible.
All right. And Michael is asking to improve rank for a keyword using PPC, is it best to use exact keywords or does phrase and broad help too?
We've run tests on this. There is a marginal improvement by running the exact match. Keep in mind, however, exact match is more expensive. So even though it performs better, you'll pay more for it. So you might be at price parity to run the broad match after all is said and done. The other benefit of running the broad match is that you're going to get cursory keyword pickups. So as one example of this, you can show my screen. I have a Mother's Day product, mom box, if you will. Here's another example of me using the keyword on the box. And I was able to sell $144,000 in product in the first 30 days of me launching this product 2 Mother's Days ago. And I spent $11,000 on ads. 5,000 of that was on a single keyword. It was a broad match, gifts for mom. And 48 hours before Mother's Day, I was organically ranked #1 for gifts for mom. And it made a massive dent and improvement. And then I also was able to index for 4,300 keywords in under 14 days. Now, that's a really good number. It's also one of the best launches I've ever had on my own personal products. So you can't necessarily replicate this, but that is the gold standard. That is the sacred cow or the purple cow or whatever you want to call it. And so it's living proof that if you focus on broad match keywords, you can have massive gains and lots of good success with it.
Okay, and Michael already added a comment about it. So on using broad match, do you recommend using broad match modifier to get the exact words of the keywords?
So if you even know what Michael is talking about, the answer is yes. If you have never heard of broad match modifier, the answer is no. Just stick to what you know and understand. Certain things are a little more sophisticated, but would require 10x the effort to learn and pull off. If you're really good in the world at product sourcing, stick to what you know and just source more products. And then outsource your PPC to a partner. I'm obviously biased on that question. Or just really stick structurally to what you understand. If you're an Excel wizard and you understand code, or you're an engineer, you probably should be doing these things and managing your own PPC. But if you're a product engineer and you know how to master making something new, you are way better off not learning a new skill and just staying to the skill you've spent your life learning and get better at it and delegate the rest outward.
Okay, so actually, let's go back to Keith's question. I think we missed one important detail. So when he was asking about re-ranking after going out of stock, he emphasized that he's not able to use advertising because there are some restrictions. And now he said the restrictions are there because these are drinking products. So what's the best option then to rank without PPC, basically?
You're almost dead in the water, truth be told. You're going to have to use some external traffic mechanisms. If you can pull me back up on screen, I had a challenge with some of my wine glasses. So any of my wine glasses where I talk about wine or have the word drink, they eventually always get banned from advertising. Now, I have been able to get them to come up and down and get unbanned, but it's just kind of a whack-a-mole situation where I stopped focusing on this category altogether because of it. My most famous wine glass was I'm not drinking alone, I'm social distancing. Thank God that's out of class now and that we've moved past that. But it made me like $100,000 in net proceeds, and it got banned from ads. And it was ranked #1 for the term wine glass when it got banned from ads Valentine's Day 2 or 3 years ago. It was devastating to me, and I was super angry about it. But it went from organic rank #1 down to rank 40 after being banned from ads, and it never recovered. And so without ads, you are going to have a really hard time being at the top of the SERPs. It's not impossible, but it's going to be really, really hard. You're going to have to turn a ton of units organically, and it's not easy.
Okay, thank you for sharing your experience. Not so inspiring, but definitely important.
Hashtag passive income on Amazon.
All right, so Tony is saying big thanks for your answer, Stephen. So when using PPC, what would you target when you're doing re-ranking?
The 2 or 3 most important keywords, I'm going to dedicate 50% of the budget. So like in the instance of the mom box, gifts for mom, 50% of my budget went to that broad match term and paid major dividends. And so whether it's a new product or whether it's a relaunch, you should know that data. And the best way to do that is to go over to Brain Analytics. So we're going to pop back up on screen here again. You're going to see my actual Brain Analytics. I dubbed this the ICAP marketing funnel. And you can find which keyword is the most important by looking at this data. So go ahead and pop me up on screen here. And
yeah, we don't see your screen yet.
All right, so let me hit share screen again. And window, here we go, share. So over here on the search query performance report, you can get here for those that have never been here before by clicking on the drop-down hamburger menu, clicking on brands and brand analytics. This is so important that you'll see I have this bookmarked on my bar, and I check this every week without fail. In here, you can see, you can select it by brand, the weekly range, the week it's impacting. You can also go down to the ASIN view if you're really sophisticated and you want, but let's just stick to the brand levels. So Dr. Squatch, apparently I am converting and stealing some of their market share. And here they're going to be super interested in this. So if you work at Dr. Squatch, you'll be paying attention. But I take 1.28% of their entire market share on their brand term just for showing up and existing. And I'm also taking 2.8% of their impression share, as well as 2.1% of their clicks. So the reason I call this the ICAP marketing funnel, it's impressions, clicks, add to carts, and purchases. And in here, you can fundamentally decide which keywords are important to focus on. So Amazon is automatically ranking these keywords by most important to least important. So if we wanted to take like something like the Spanish word right here, we could go over to Amazon, type this into the search results to see what shows up. Oh, what do you know? I have an ad on the first slot. Why would I do that? Why would I be advertising on Spanish? Well, it's because when I found this in my search query performance report, I went out and made an advertisement for it. I wanted to win on that. Well, now I have a click-through rate of 43% on that term. How about that? Well, it's because when you look at the data and you take action, so, kind of in my opening monologue, I said a lot of Amazon sellers know there's a lot of things that they can do, but what they really need to know is what to do. So if you were to surmise what we've talked about so far, I'm telling you what to do. It is focus on the ICAP marketing funnel, pick a keyword and put it in your title of your product, put it in your image of your product, put it in your advertising, slam dunk it anywhere you can, and you will get similar results to this. A keyword you didn't know about last week is going to show up on your report. You're going to start getting clicks and sales from it and start dominating and winning. So here is the list of all of these keywords that are apparently super important for my brand. Some of them are going to be product specific, like the Lord of the Rings gifts, Mario Cup, Game of Thrones. It's a pretty large gambit. So you might have to go down to the ASIN level to really get sophisticated. But take that Forever Rose product. That's showing up right there. That's how we knew we needed to put that onto our packaging. So the data that goes behind all of these decisions is the what to do. Do what the data says to do. Specifically on this brand analytics report is the strongest piece of data that has ever come out of Amazon, full stop. It is crucial. Everybody should be paying attention to this.
And I think this is also something you will touch on when you will come to Prague in June to European Seller Conference. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, then click in the link in the description and you can get the ticket, meet Stevens, meet a lot of other very great experts as well. And now we have one last question, I think. It's more about PPC, but it goes together with everything we have been talking about before. So Michael wants to know if you have the same keyword in different campaigns under the same parent, so it's different childs, then can you get 2 ads to show or just one ad for each parent?
You can only do 1 ad per parent. However, I have proved that also is false. So let me demo the exception to the rule, but the general rule is you can only show up 1 time. I forget which keyword I can trigger this on. It's going to be probably, let's try natural soap for men. So I'm going to type that in. And we see a bunch of Dr. Squatch. We should start to see some of my products. Okay, so product 1, that's me, Age of Sage. Let's see how many times I show up. There's 2. And if you click on this, you're going to notice that that's actually on the same parentage. So I gave you a hard no to start it. Now I'm showing you the exception of the rule. But you can clearly see I can show up twice. This is product 1. That's product 2. They're in the same parentage. That's product 1. That's product 2 right here. And they're both on the same parentage. So technically, there are exceptions to showing up multiple times, both organically and PPC. However, the more competitive a category is, the rarer this gets. So you should not count on it. This is why it's beneficial. Here's my other product. This was my original packaging. We had the artisan look right there. So that's the 3rd time I'm showing up. So it's the same exact product packaged 2 ways. So if you're looking for a hack today, you're like, man, I really don't want to launch a new product. Well, here's proof that you could have 2 competing products sell the exact same thing and just package it 2 different ways. And you'll have 2 different brands, essentially. So I think another keyword here, artisan soap for men. We'll take the autocomplete there. I believe this will also show a second keyword example. So I have organic slot number 1 on this. I have the Amazon's choice, which is cool. None of my ads triggered. But as we scroll down, we'll probably see more of my product. Here's product 2, different parentage. As we keep going down, we'll probably see a 3rd or a 4th one. There's a third one, but that one's on a different parentage. There's a fourth one. That's on the same parentage. Fifth one, that's a duplicate of the original one I saw. Sixth one, that's the same parentage as the blue one right there. So I am showing the exception to the rule right here pretty clearly. However, it's unusual, it's rare, and it's not supposed to be a good customer experience. So Amazon generally doesn't like to do this.
Okay, thank you for demonstrating. It's always great to not only listen, but actually see like live how you go everything through. So that's cool.
I love live demos. I like interacting with people and just getting to the root of their questions. That's my favorite thing to do. Ask me anything with Stephen Pope.
So we do have a few more questions before we wrap up for today. So Luis is asking, hi, Stephen, I have a problem in organic rank. I already do keyword research in my product and I'm ranking well with sponsored ads, but organic rank is not ranking or good. So what should I do?
So that's a problem with your listing. So if I have artisan soap for men and they land on there and I show a bunch of pictures of women, they're probably going to bail a little bit, unless it's to help sell men's soap, right? But you get the idea. Is if the product clearly is targeting keywords for a demographic and that demographic shows up and it's not actually indicative of it's a product for that demographic, they're going to bail. In politics, it's your job as a politician to cast as big of a tent as you possibly can. You want as many voters, as many people under your tent. In e-commerce and in marketing and in branding, the opposite is true. You want your tent as small as possible. You want to cram as many people into that tent as you can, but you want a very small tent. Why is this true? It's because if you have a big tent and people get into the tent and they look around, they ain't sure they're in the right part of town, so to speak. And so when I talk about demographics, some people get a little uncomfortable. But if you're a marketer, it is your full-time job to understand demographics. You do not advertise a product for the wrong demographic. It is a waste of money. Just like you wouldn't advertise a product for one side of the political aisle on the other opposite political aisles mediums. You just won't do those things. So small tent, hyper focus. And I can tell you right now, Lewis, whether we look at your product or not, you have a demographic reinforcement problem. If you're not ranking for those keywords, it's because when the consumer gets to your product, they don't believe it's the right product for them. So make sure you double down on a very, very narrow, specific niche demographic, and only that niche demographic, and your keyword rankings will go back up.
Good. Thank you for that. So Keith is having another question. First, thanks for all of the amazing tips. So do you have any tips on the flow or order of the images?
The easy answer for me, or the cop-out answer, is let the consumer decide. Run some pig food tests or other, you can use any tool for this, and basically let them tell you which images they like and put the most important images on top. If you want me to basically tell you what I think it's going to be the product in use by the target demographic with eye contact, looking at the camera like this. So make sure you have the product in use, showing it with eye contact as your second image whenever possible.
Okay, very good tip. So let's take one more question, and then we have one ASIN to quickly analyze as well. So Michael is commenting something you explained before. So if it's true about only showing one product once, should he break his listing up into multiple listings?
This is a really hard subject to debate. Parentage theory. When should I break it up? Well, I gave you guys a couple examples with my soaps. And you're welcome to kind of showcase this again. So I redid my packaging because I felt like my competition had outmaneuvered me on the mainstream packaging. So I had a really good take on some of my old school packaging. So if we go to my store here, you can see kind of the comparison. Old school artisan packaging, hand wrapped, and you can see the soap bar, versus new school packaging. And you can look through the packaging, but by and large, it's very more mainstream type feel to it. So I have separate parentages for this because I'm targeting two demographics. Now, let's say that my macho soap and my masculine soap were selling 80% of all units. Let's just for math sake, let's say 40% here, 40% here, and 20% on all of the other variations combined. Parentage theory would suggest that it might be time to break up the parentage. And that's when you have two power SKUs that make up the bulk of all sales. The reason you would want to separate those out is because two SKUs that could live on their own if the other didn't exist strategically makes sense to parent, unparent, and separate, and then reparent some of the other SKUs. So you could cut this in half. You could have 3 soaps on one listing and 4 on the other. And by doing it that way, you will show up multiple times in the search results for ads and SEO. This is going to be category dependent, niche dependent. There's a lot of parentage theory to unpack on this question, but here is the long and short of the rule theory assessed. When in doubt, parent stuff together. The only time to not parent stuff is that if you scientifically can articulate quantifiably that you know you will have better overall search results, that when somebody types in here artisan soap for men, that you could show up multiple times like I do in slot 1 here. And as we scroll down multiple times, slot 2 and slot 3 and slot 4 and so forth, that's when you want to break it up and show multiple times. But by and large, showing up 1, 2, 3 times like this, all next to each other in search results for a non-branded keyword, very rare and hard to do. Breaking up the parentage, one of the best ways to do it, however.
Very cool. Very interesting discussion. And what we didn't mention before is that in June in Products Conference, there will actually be a VIP day before the conference days. And you're one of the VIP experts as well. And basically what it means is that there will be a couple of experts like you, and then a handful of sellers. And throughout the whole day, sellers are able to sit down with you in one table and ask all of the questions they have or discuss anything they want to. So I think it's a great chance to meet you in person and go more into the details of the products.
You honor me. Thank you. Pay for that VIP ticket, get access to me and other VIP coaches, and also have the privacy so you don't have to blast your ASIN out on a public channel like this, like we're doing today.
Yeah, true. But we actually have 2 more sellers who submitted their reviews, not reviews, ASINs for your review. One is from Tony. Tony has actually been to our events before, so great to see you here today. You have his ASIN in your chat as well, so if you could open up that product page.
Perfect. Family. You know, the only reason I do what I do is for family. All of the brands that I'm making, I'm going to give to my kids. It's going to be so fantastic when they, come of age and we could do this. So this represents my culture right here. So I have a big thing for that. So that's great. First thing I'm going to want to do is I want to see that product in use. You kind of have that done here. She's got the eye contact to emphasize that point, which is great. I would probably love to see her in a living room or some sort of real world instead of kind of a cutout right here. This is better than nothing though, however, but I would love to see kind of more homely feel to it, if you were. Other than that, pretty good image stack. This is the exact sort of thing I mentioned earlier on one of the other ASINs where you show the I don't know what you call this from an artistic standpoint, but where you have that zone in close-up shot where you're really trying to showcase. This is what I like to call the show and tell. So you're not just telling them that it has effect for shadow, you're showing them and how it looks and how it works, which I think is great. Very well done listing. The style theme, you might want to switch this over to color because color theme will actually show the product. You have a product that does very well when you show it instead of just telling them. So I think that a color theme might be better on the parentage instead of the other way around. You have the brand story, which is good. Notice how many modules they've taken advantage of. That's very good. And they even link to the other products. Very good there. You haven't done premium A+ content yet. I think that's probably the most important thing you do. But from an artistic standpoint, I think you've nailed it. And you've done a very good job of taking up lots of space. Sometimes people will throw a lot more keywords behind the scenes in like the second image when you kind of cursory, scroll through this. another way you can hide it somewhere and still get crawlable text. Done a very good job with most of this. Let's inspect a random image. You've got Spanish behind the image. How about that, guys? We talked about throwing Spanish behind one photo's alt text. We got a power user. This must be a super fan who's followed the content and has picked up on that tip before. So not a lot of good things you've missed. You've done a really good job. You haven't missed much. I would say probably focus on that color variation to get the best tip for Tony today.
Awesome. Yeah, Tony is actually watching a lot of our content. So happy to hear that he's not only listening, but actually implementing. And that's actually one of the most important things to do when, taking action. So we had another ASIN as well from Scott. So Scott also asked if you are able to quickly review their product listing.
All right, so we've got strawberries up here. My 4-year-old girl, Sage, calls them stravies. And let's see what we got here. So they're fake food. She probably won't be too enthralled by having fake food in a bowl next to her. She likes the real thing. But I got to say, these things look pretty real. They do a pretty good job. So I don't think you have anything of value in image 2 here. I think you're missing out. They use the color theme, which is very good in this case. I think it's way superior to style theme in almost every category instance. So that's what you have going for you. I think that the title probably is indicative of uses and probably not indicative of keywords that people use. That would be a guess on my part. Your ICAP data will verify this. You may want to redo some of the actual keywords that people use to find it and showcase that. I think your image stack is probably a B minus, might be as low as a C plus. There's no humanization. You do have the banana for scale shot with a strawberry in this instance, where you show how big they are, which is good. That's probably my second favorite, but image 2 and 4 pretty much do nothing for me. And you're not showing me how I could display this. There's no aspiration shot, no lifestyle shot, no full picture with smiling eye shots where you're looking at the camera. So a lot of things that could be added. The bullets are super short, probably need to be tripled. A lot more keyword research needs to be done. Brand story, however, doing very good. I do like that. The one thing I think you might be a little short on is text, but it's pretty minor. As we go down to the A+ content, you need to install premium A+ content. You've got regular. You take up lots of space, which is good. Let's click on a random photo and click inspect. Artificial fruit for display, fake fruits. You did a good job on the alt text, so that's filled in. So that's very good. You've got multiple product grids, which you're really trying to showcase and show off the product. And with your product category, that makes a lot of sense. I bet you that the average AOV on Amazon is 102. That means 2 out of 100 people buy a second product. I bet this listing right here probably has an AOV of 1.2. You probably get 20 out of 100 people, or 10 times as many people to buy more than one SKU at the same time. Feel free to let me know how accurate I got on that, Scott, but I am pretty certain you're going to have a higher AOV because you're pushing your product and cursory add-ons very, very well. Did a really good job with that. One other tip we haven't talked about, I'm going to throw it at you. Notice how you have some customer reviews like this, and they're showing pictures. If I were you, I would have a customer question answered with a video. A lot of people don't know this exists, but you can actually answer a question with a video. See how easy it is? I just simply load it right there. So if you got a question, are these made from plastic or styrofoam? You could pull up an answer to this video, show the product in your hands like this, break it in half, and just show them and let them know what it's made of. And I'm telling you, that is going to just, people love that stuff. And instead of just telling them the answer with written form, you can show them the answer. So that's another cool tip. A lot of people haven't taken advantage of that.
Thank you for that. You're a professional. You're doing a lot of videos yourself. So you spotted it really fast that I was talking, but not talking loud enough. Yeah, I wanted to say thanks for including the last tip about answering with the videos. I think it's also a very useful one for the sellers. And yeah, I thank you so much for joining me today to share all of your to share all of your knowledge. And maybe once more, could you highlight what are the things you are up to in the Amazon space? And I think we have some of your fans here today as well, because Michael is asking about your Friday question session. So he's eager to know when are you going to host them again instead of your team members?
Well, I'm going to go biblical on you on this one, Michael. So when Jesus Christ left and he was resurrected and came back and started seeing his apostles over fishing at the lake and saying, "Why are you still fishing? I wanted you to feed my sheep. Go out and do. It's just because I'm gone doesn't mean the story ends there." And that's my answer to you, Michael. I am empowering my staff and trying to invest in them so that so like Jason does my Friday Q&As. I've got Kevin doing my Tuesday PPC AMAs. I'm trying to invest in people so that one day, hopefully in the far future, when I'm gone, my legacy will continue on. And that's really important to me. I'm right now, I'm focused on behind the scenes system building. I'm trying to revolutionize some product upgrades and do a lot of stuff. I love doing Q&A. This is a very fun format. But to be honest, we're probably going to gate a little bit of it and start charging some money and do some private things. And in fact, in about 20 minutes, I'm going to go do a PPC AMA for people who made a purchase. So if you want to sneak into that real quick, you want to get further access, Michael, we have a PPC AMA. You can go purchase that right now and join us in 20 minutes.
Or he could come to the June's conference and
or
those meet you in
go
person.
or go in person and see us in Prague in June. Sorry, I don't mean to push
Yeah.
myself too much here.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much. We're really excited to have you in Prague. It will be very soon when we are able to listen to you on stage with other awesome experts. So thanks again for joining me today. And we hope to see you soon again in some webinar as well.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. We'll see you guys in Prague in June. This is going to be great. It's going to be so fantastic. I'm so excited to visit Europe. We'll see you soon.
All right, so now on the screen you will find another video where you will learn how to optimize your SEO performance and always have optimized product listings. So check it out now.